What's up guys, today I want to talk a little bit about double half snatch and why I think it's the most beneficial of all the newer lifts. So just a little bit of kettlebell sport history. So the classic kettlebell sport competitions that were held in Russia starting I think from the 50s, 60s onwards were two events, right? You have the double jerk, okay, and then you have the single arm snatch. And in the beginning it was without time limit, but then they saw that people would just stand there for like an hour and rest in the rack position and continue to do jerks, and that's why they put the time limit of 10 minutes onto the lifts. And that's how we arrived at modern biathlon, where you have 10 minutes of jerk and then after some rest you have 10 minutes of one arm snatch. And then I think in the 90s people started to compete in what's called long cycle, and that's another event, that's the clean and jerk. Okay, so you have two bells, you do one clean, then you do one jerk. And those are really like the classic events. That's called like the classics, biathlon and long cycle. And then as kettlebell sports started to become more popular, people came up with different other events. And the idea most of the time was to appeal more to the general public, because classic biathlon and also long cycle are really hard. Right, you need a lot of attributes to be able to perform them. And so a lot of the modern events I would personally characterize as easier. For example, 10-minute one arm long cycle is objectively easier than the classics. But there is an exception, and that's the double half snatch. In my opinion, the double half snatch is basically on the same level as the classic lifts, and it has a lot of benefits. Some of those benefits are, it's going to really hit the posterior chain hard, and that's something I feel is missing a bit in kettlebell sport. Because yes, in snatch you get the glutes, hamstrings, the back working, but it's only one kettlebell. It's a relatively light resistance, because most of the time you're going to be limited by your grip, right, and not by your back and glutes. Then you have, of course, the cleans in long cycle. Yes, they do hit the posterior chain, but not as hard as double half snatch, right? Because if you watch how I'm performing the movement, you see there's like a real triple extension going on, and you're just throwing the weight up. Then the second benefit is similar to long cycle. It really gets the heart rate up. Okay, so it's great training for the cardiovascular system, because it's just a large range of motion and you can move relatively heavy resistance at a pretty high pace. So that's the second benefit. And the third benefit, I would say, from a kettlebell sports perspective, it's like the ideal assistance exercise, because it's going to carry over to all of the other lifts. And it's really the only lift that does that. So in my opinion, it's going to carry over to jerk in some way, because you're training the rack position and overhead fixation isometrically. It's going to carry over to long cycle, because you develop the drive and the grip strength and the conditioning you need for the clean, okay? And it's going to carry over to snatch as well, because you're going to get better at hand insertion, and also you're going to improve your grip strength. So obviously you still need to practice those other lifts, but the double half snatch, aside from being a great lift on its own, is going to carry over as well to those other lifts. And yeah, that's why I'm including it in my current training cycle, even though I'm focused on biathlon at the moment. That's why my technique is not as sharp, because I'm not practicing it a lot at the moment, but that was still a 5-rep PR for a 5-minute set, so I'm happy with that. And I'm looking to do 60 reps in 10 minutes in competition sometime this year, because I just think it's a great standard benchmark of general physical preparation, and that's going to give me rank 1 in double half snatch. If that kind of training looks appealing to you, check out my newly released program, Bell Domination. I'm going to put the link in the description, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.